What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be critiquing a video a client of mine sent me with her dog Nala. She recently went through not my full training program. She did basically half of the program, so we didn't do any we did a minimal amount of e-collar work. We basically just layered the e-collar on top of place, maybe Let's Go, just so she had it as a little bit of a training tool, but we didn't work it into where they can really use it for any kind of like behavioral work or anything as intense as what you're going to see here in this video. But I'll wait a second to play it. I'll kind of like set the stage for you so you know what's going on. So this is her dad is taking Nala out to sit on the porch. Her cousin, I believe, a family member, was coming over to drop off some stuff. She's met him before, doesn't know him super well, but she knows who he is, but she still acts the way that you're going to see her act in this video. And she's just looking for guidance on like what to do, how to handle this. So let's just jump into it. I'll go ahead and I'll play it first, and then I'll back up and I'll kind of point out what I see here. Nope.
What are you doing? Go inside.
All right, that's the gist of it here. So I'm going to back up. So the first thing that I see, obviously, like, it's not the best video, like when this person approaches here. If I can get it to play. Like, she's kind of blocked by the door. But let's just start at the beginning. So he brings her outside, and just right out the gate, right here. Look at her ears. Look at her focus. Look at what she's paying attention to. Okay. She's fixated. Right out the gate, she's fixated. Now, you can tell they have the prong collar on, high and tight on her. There's tension on it, and she's still leaning into it, fixating on the guy. So her dad sits down, and right there, the first chuff, and he kind of tells her to stay. I'm assuming that he's thinking that because she's met him before, that she's probably going to be fine. He's probably going out just to see what she would do. Probably not thinking she was going to act like this at all. Bigger bark. Now here, the cousin, I believe it is leaning in towards them, setting whatever they were carrying, setting it down. Now, I don't know if you could see that here. So the owner comes out. Right here, he's pulling up on the leash. She's elevated, so her front feet are either off of the ground or up on him or on that bench or chair or whatever he's sitting in. All right, let me play here. And then, when she comes out, then that big lunge. So I can't see what the visitor is doing. But okay, so they're backing away, and so he's got tension on. The visitor backs away, and then she comes out full force. He pulls her back. She's saying, "Hey." So what I see here is both, like, her and her dad are they're trying what a person would do if they were talking to another person. Yeah, she's pointing. Like, that point doesn't mean anything to her. She's not even looking at her. He's asking her, "Why are you acting like that?" And so they're both talking to her in a really copacetic kind of tone. Not that you need to be like yelling and screaming at your dog or anything, but she does not care about anything that either one of these people are saying to her. She thinks that she's kind of in control here, that she's doing her duty. She scared the bad guy away. They're obviously upset about it because that's not the way you want your dog to be behaving, especially greeting people that they're supposed to be friendly to. But, imagine this was someone you don't know, and that's the first interaction that they have with you and your dog. They're not going to want to be around that dog ever again. All right, so let's back it up again. And I think the best way to frame this would be just to, what would I do if this was my dog? Okay, so the first thing, they have some foundational training. It's not my preference. They did a shorter version of my program. Finances come into play with dog training. That's just the way that it is. Dog training is expensive. My full program is double what they could afford, so we worked with them on payments, and we gave them something to work with, but that only works if you use the tools that are in your toolbox, and it only works if you practice it enough ahead of time so that when stuff like this happens, you're ready for it. So the first thing that I would do before even attempting to interact or expose your dog to somebody coming to the house or a stranger, whatever, that something that with Nala here that's clearly setting her off, you need to make sure that you can get that dog to pay attention to you like that. You don't need an e-collar to do that. It makes it a little bit quicker and more efficient with proper e-collar conditioning and stuff, but you don't need it. You can get her to look at you if you practice with that prong collar the way that she's been conditioned to, meaning with your general obedience, instead of just sit and then you get your treat, it's sit, look at me, then you get your treat, right? You add that as a stipulation on top of each obedience command, and then that will become enforceable, and this is the way that Nala was taught. So she knows this. We're probably just going to have to have them go back and revisit some fundamentals to be able to do that, but you should be able to give her, say her name, give her a leash pop if she doesn't respond to it. But when you say her name, she should look up at you. And if she doesn't, a little pop, it shouldn't even be, you're not trying to take her head off. This isn't old school, the yank and crank type of dog training and stuff that people are loath to be around nowadays. It doesn't have to be that intense. But what you're doing is let's see, this extra HDMI cable here. So let's say this is the leash that's on the dog, right? This is the dog, and my dog is going this way. Sorry, this is I wasn't planning on doing this. All right, so here's my leash. Here's the dog, right? Dog's going that way, looking that way. I should be able to, hey, and the dog should look up at me. If they don't, then you can give them a harder one. But really, if they don't, then that situation is too hard for them. You didn't properly practice ahead of time so that they know what to do when you're prompting them with that leash pop. So the first thing is you have to make sure that your foundational obedience is in place to where you can get that dog to look at you even when there's normal distractions, not these big triggers that cause the dog to go over threshold and hit that big blow up, that big explosion that you saw here. But a family member being a distraction, like dropping food on the floor, tossing a ball, or clapping their hands, the dog's owner should be able to get the dog to look away from that distraction at them, when they prompt them with the collar, when you prompt them with their name. That ensures that the dog knows in the situation, they know what they're supposed to do. Now, the next thing here, as soon as they walk out, right, her fixation is very clear. So what I'm looking at always is where's the dog's head at? Where's their state of mind? Where's their focus? And so you just have to develop this kind of situational awareness, right? I know my dog is prone to being reactive. If you didn't know before this, you know now. So fool me once, shame on me, right? Or, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. However it goes. But if they do it a second time, and you're not ready for it, that is not on the dog. That is not the dog's fault. That's your fault. Now you know this is going to happen, very likely. You need to set the stage, set yourself up and the dog up for success. So I'm going to go back, revisit those fundamentals, make sure that I can get the dog to look at me when I give little leash pops, and like put down in the comments if you want me to get a video showing what I mean by that, if that doesn't make sense. A lot of my clients that have gone through my training and have seen me do this and seen me teach them to do it, they know what I mean. But essentially what I mean is you should be able to give that dog a little baby pop on their neck. They look up at you, say yes, and give them some food and play. And you do that until it's like clockwork. You can do it all day long. Until you can do that, you're not ready for this. Now, then when I'm going into this situation, I'm walking out. I know that the potential trigger is there. I'm looking at her focus. Now, if I can't get her to look at me here when I walk out, right here, we're not staying out there. I'm not going to wait for the person to come out. I'm going to try to get your attention there. I'm going to give you some leash pops if that's what I need to do. And if that's not working, then, okay, you're not ready for this. I'm going to put you inside, and I'm not going to put you in a position to where you're going to get internally rewarded. That's what's happening. You're getting self-rewarded for acting like that. In her mind, she won this altercation. She scared the bad guy away. She got an internalized reward. She got a dopamine hit. It made her feel good. It made her feel righteous and just and all this stuff. She's going to do it again. So I'm not going to put you in that position. You're not ready for that challenge. I'm going to put you inside, and then I'm going to greet my family member and go about my business. And we'll try again later. We'll go back to the fundamentals, and we'll try it again later. Now, if I can get you to focus on me, then that's what should be happening here. I see that you wanted to pay attention to this person coming up. I'm going to say, nope, not right now. Not that. Do this instead, which is just look at me. And if I need to, I'll be sitting there reinforcing that with food or whatever. And then you won't get this. When you try to stop the behavior here, when this happens, they went over threshold, meaning like they're in that red zone or whatever. No learning happens there. You're not communicating to her because she can't hear you. She can hardly see you. She has tunnel vision, audio exclusion. Like, she's fixated on what she perceives as a threat. So she's in over her head. You threw her into the deep end of the pool before she knew how to swim. That's all that happened here. So again, if this was my dog, I would go back, revisit the fundamentals, and then rework it again. Ideally, since this is a family member, you can ask them if they trust you, because I mean, I don't know that she would have bit, but it's a real possibility that she could have there. There's safety to account here. You have to make sure that you know how to handle the dog, that they're properly secured. If you need to, look into muzzle conditioning. But in this case, I don't know that you need to do all that. Just make sure that she's secure, her leash and collar are secure, and the person is not going to get close enough, like anywhere close. You don't need to be working within a couple feet of this dog. I mean, look at where that initial, like the lower limit of this threshold is. I mean, that person's like 30 feet away. They're all the way out at the road. So all they need to do is pull up and stand all the way out there on the sidewalk or out, next to their car. And right there is where you practice getting the dog to look away from that trigger and at you and ignore them. And then if they look at you, then you can have them like right here, they could stand where that car is. This is what I would do. I would put that person right out there where that car is and get her to look at me. When she looks at me, then the person, your helper, would move to the left behind the house out of sight of the dog, while you say yes and you reward Nala. If you need to, take her inside for just a second. The idea is pressure on, pressure off. The trigger's there at the road. You get her to look away from the trigger, pay attention to you for a moment, and then the trigger leaves and you pull her away. So you have this pressure built up, and then you relieve the pressure. And then you do it again. You build it back up, and you do it again. And you work it until the person can come all the way up onto the porch. But if you can't get her to ignore that trigger, you don't stand a chance. So, go comment down below if you got questions about any of this, if I didn't explain it thoroughly enough. It's kind of hard to really just explain this stuff. Sometimes it's easier to demonstrate. So if you want me to demonstrate this stuff, let me know, and I'd be happy to. Happy training, guys.